Welcome to our viewers of the channel. Today we're sitting with General Motau and we're here to receive some remarks from him concerning the state of the nation, the ANC, and the Season of Treason article he has recently written. General, good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon.
How are you today, sir?
Fine, thanks. And how are you?
I'm okay. I think it's better for us to just dive into the issue, and I'd like to get your first remark. If you can, please explain the current state of the ANC and how it connects to the current political and economic situation in our country.
Thank you very much. I think we should start by referring at our analysis on the turnaround strategy 2025 document, where we actually explained in broad terms and very directly that the African National Congress today has actually lost credibility in the eyes of the population. The African National Congress has lost legitimacy. And this can be proved by what has been happening since 2017. The African National Congress has been losing in popularity, and the people have started not voting for the African National Congress. The reasons being that the African National Congress has not followed up on the promises of the Freedom Charter in particular. And our people who had expected the African National Congress to bring radical change have not been actually satisfied. We see our people still remain where they were. The economy is still in the hands of the few, particularly Europeans. We see that our schools are still the same. We are in the dusty schools in the townships. We are in the schools with bad ablution facilities, while in the suburbs, we see lawns, we see all sporting facilities, which we don't see in African schools. So our people are actually dissatisfied. Apartheid has not been dismantled. We are still managing the apartheid structure, infrastructure, and architecture, which means we have not reached our freedom. And this is what creates a problem. And the leadership of the African National Congress today have actually lost the creativity, they have lost the strategic initiative, they are not actually able to they are not actually able to bring about change because they lost that strategic initiative. We are now being directed, as it were, by those who are in economic power. Because economy, we should understand, actually is the base of society. And if you don't control the economy, then you cannot control even politics. This is the situation we find in our country.
So that seems more, it seems more like a political issue when you describe it like that, not just an economic issue. But it begs the question, who directly are you pointing the finger at? Who are you addressing with this sentiment when it comes to the turnaround strategy and also your article, The Season of Treason? Who are you addressing?
What we are doing in the turnaround strategy, and actually my latest article, A Season for Treason, we are actually addressing both the publics. Firstly, we are addressing members of the African National Congress and its leadership in particular. The leadership of the African National Congress, if it really believes and actually tries to satisfy the interest of our people, we are saying they better actually leave, because they failed our people. For 27 odd years, they failed our people. So they can't anymore be any creative in bringing about change if they fail for 27 years. What do they want our people to do? To give them another 27 years? 27 years of no change. So our people need to understand we know our people. We talk to our people and we know the interest of our people. And the turnaround strategy actually deals with the interest of our people. Now, members of the African National Congress have got a responsibility. Because first and foremost, the first front of this process is members of the African National Congress choosing proper leaders, choosing leaders who are committed to changes as they are in the turnaround strategy. That is the first publics we are trying to address, the African National Congress in itself. Secondly, we are trying to say to our people, we want to bring fundamental change. We are now aware that the present leadership will not be able to bring change. We want to give them an assurance that we are going to work with them. We are going to make sure their interests are covered, that change which we promise them of liberation is going to be brought about. Because we are not yet there. It is not yet Uhuru. Our people need to understand that we are going to bring about change.
Your article, The Season for Treason, does mention that there are some treasonous elements within the ANC preventing the ANC from pursuing its historic missions. May you please describe to us what role these treasonous elements have in deterring the mission of the ANC?
Yes, let me start first by saying to our listeners, there are two types of leaders in the African National Congress of today. There are those leaders who are actually not bothered about what is happening in the African National Congress. They are happy to be ministers, to be whatever they are, in order to satisfy their personal interest. These are leaders who are actually not worried about what is happening down there with our people. The second category of leaders in the African National Congress are those who are actually serving the interest of what I can call white monopoly capital. That is the existing capitalists in our country, which is largely Africans, Europeans. Africans don't own anything. Even those who say they own something, they are given crumbs. They don't own anything. This is the type of leadership you have. A leadership who I call traitors, who are working against the interests of their own people. Because what is treason? Treason is the acts which work against the interest and the survival of a particular or your own nation and your own people. That is treason. And therefore, you have these people. But I should admit that the two categories of leaders are all equally responsible for driving us to the situation we face today.
General Motau, in this country right now, we face a dire situation where youth unemployment is currently ranked as the highest in the world, of any country on any continent. Is this issue directly attributed only to the failures of the political leadership within the ANC, or is it all due to a lack of direct foreign investment in our country? And what is the way forward concerning youth unemployment and unemployment in general in this country?
Firstly, let me deal with the issue of foreign direct investment. South Africa, in all earnestness, doesn't have to rely on foreign direct investment. Where do we want this foreign direct investment to be directed to? What are the areas which we want foreign investment for? That is one question. The second question is, South Africa has got excess capital We have got surplus capital in this country. The insurance companies, the banks, the companies hold a lot of cash reserves which are not invested in the country. Now, we now start singing the song foreign direct investment while we don't invest in our own economy. Now, who is responsible? Political leaders are the most serious culprits. If we don't have policies which make sure that the monies which we have is invested in our economy, when we have no policies which can limit the outflow of capital, because as we speak now, this government has allowed foreign capital to flow out of our country. Capital to flow out of our country. We find a situation where companies are now allowed to go and invest abroad and not invest in the economy. Youth, lack of creativity. We have got different categories of youth. The youth who didn't go to school, the youth who are graduates who are not getting jobs. Now, an economy which doesn't create the possibility for its youth to develop skills will never survive. Now, in the turnaround strategy, we say it is very important to introduce, as a developing country, introduce a national service which will be run by the military in cooperation with other departments and private businesses in order to train our young people in skills. It is therefore important for us to try and be creative in solving the problem. You can't say government doesn't create jobs. Government does create jobs. If government gives a contract for a road to be built and contracts a private company, it is government which makes it possible for people to be employed. It is not just private companies, as what people want us to believe.
General, with the current perception of the failure of the leadership of the ANC over the last few years, we just want to ask you now our final question. What is the way forward for the ANC?
As I've said, December is the conference of the African National Congress. We want leaders of the African National Congress to respond to our political persuasion that they should not stand for elections. They should not complicate the matter any further. They need to become patriotic and respond to our political persuasion for us, which we are trying to use to make them understand. They should step up. But of course, if they don't want to respond to political persuasion, there are other means which can be used. Other political means, which we don't like, because our movement is fractured. There are factions. We do not want to bring back the infighting in the African National Congress. Those factions must stay out of the contest for leadership. There is a document which was written which talks about how leadership should be elected, which we call Saving the African National Congress, Addressing the Leadership Challenge. That document deals in details on how we think leadership should be elected, and in the transition, how things should be managed.
Thank you very much, General, for your time. Thank you for your insight. We appreciate your time greatly.
Thank you.